If you want to play the Tan
Internet, is this real Gambit?
I have some secret prep.
Oh, okay, Anton. Starting the hype train. Thank you very much. I do want to play the Tan Gambit. So he is referring to this opening. So when you play against d4, you can play knight f6 with the idea that after c4, you play d5. And this is going to be one of these initial 3-pawn gambits. And I'll be playing this against Anton, who is booked up. So he's going to take. I will play c6. After this capture, instead of the perhaps okay last chance to get some sort of reasonable gambit, I'm going to play e5. And then he's going to do something. So at this moment, white is on the verge of being 3 pawns up. I have never lost with this. Eric Rosen has apparently, don't worry about this secret Eric Rosen prep. He's won or lost with it. But this guy Zolpi, I, as black, have not lost this to date. And I've played some strong people. In particular, a 2684 rated international master. I wasn't ready for this. I haven't played this in like a week or two here. Anton's got some secret prep, and we'll see what he's got. Okay, I'll game it out. I'll game it out with Anton. Let's do this. And I have an almost incredible record, except for that last game we played. So let's game it out with Anton. Let's play another Tan Gambit. Can the Tan Gambit stay undefeated is the major question. And this is against somebody with some prep. So takes and knight e4 here. Okay, this move. I feel like we've seen it before, but maybe not actually in this exact move order. And I guess he's saying this pawn is going to live. It's going to stay here. He's going to protect the pawn with a bishop. Okay, this feels all well prepared. I see what's going on here. Okay. Okay. I feel like I have to get rid of this c-pawn. Usually, I would love to castle queenside. So he has made sure that that is just an impossibility. I am going to just try as hard as I can to win this pawn. 1 pawn back, 2 pawn backs, then we'd be in business. Let me just get this guy. I feel like he's just the most important guy. I'm going to chomp him out right away. Would love to get some sort of pressure on d2. I don't think I'll have enough moves. Like, I would love to go here and here, somehow remove this knight. That feels very elaborate. Feels like that's going to take a long time. I might have to rely on trying to win this pawn, which I can put this bishop somewhere and then try to win it. Also, I'm gonna go here and try to combine some ideas. I'm trying to win 1 more pawn back. I also like the idea that at some point maybe I can go here. He is trying to fight against my idea. Makes a ton of sense to me. So you know what? I'm going to focus now on getting castled. We want some more goblin gambits. This can be arranged. I guess we're just playing whatever chat wants today. But I have to win this game. I have not lost with this gambit before. And even though it's obviously just horrible, somehow it's been tricky enough. Ooh. 1 more pawn. And I have a small trick here in that I have this move, so that if you take my g-pawn, I can try to trap the rook. Meanwhile, my rook is defended. Now I'm on this guy. He could consider here with the idea that if I ever go back this way, he would have f5. We'll see if that's his main idea. I think that will be fine, because I always have a check, and if he ever does play f4, f5, he makes the e-pawn a little bit looser. It's only 1 pawn. I have 2 bishops, and I still have some ideas. So I feel like we're in reasonable shape, given the situation that we took on when we went against a well-prepared opponent. Have to find the proper diagonal for this bishop. Not going to be easy, but I'm anticipating I'm going to play here. I'm not going to say, because I assume Anton's listening. I'm going to put this guy here, build some pressure. Probably slowly run the king out a little bit. Okay. Somehow got to get the rook involved. You guys want to go to all the classics today? Play some beaver gambits? The beaver never really caught on, but I would be down to play a Beaver Gambit. Be particularly interesting to play it against somebody that's never seen it before. That way they will fall for the one trick. No trade. His knight is sort of... A lot of stuff is getting paralyzed. I need to do stuff on the queen side. If I could somehow get a pawn here, we'd be good. If you go here... The knight was sort of paralyzed. The knight was stuck. The knight had to stay where it was. And now things should fall downhill. I'm going to let him get the pawn all the way to where he wants it. And then I'm going to put my bishop here. Meanwhile, I'm going to create some attack over here. Just kidding. I'm actually going to stop the pawn here. But now it's suddenly us in the driver's seat. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no. Such an idiot. I have this move. I thought I messed up the game. Okay, let's just get this rook off the board so that I can't mess up the entire game. And then we will go about winning his h-pawn and taking it from there. Very nearly threw the entire thing away. But he gives up here. I'm going to win this h-pawn. And then also I'm going to win this bishop. Okay, that was tough. This was a well-prepared opponent. He came in here, he called me out, he said, you play the Tan Gambit, which I've never lost with, and hopefully never will. And he had a really cool idea. And the idea, so as black, what has been played against me before? So this has been played, I've played here twice now. So previously I've played King E1, and this is kind of like the natural reaction for most people. But C7 is probably just some big improvement that he's come up with. After this, usually things are not so bad at all. You can grab this pawn back, then you're going to start doing some checks, which usually wins a bishop. Usually you're going to get at least one pawn back. Very often you get a second pawn back along the way. And white does come under a little bit of pressure. So obviously it's a little bit dubious because you'll be down at least one pawn, but you get a lot of activity, and that's the entire point of the gambit. But Anton came up with C7 with the main idea. Wait a minute. The computer has an even cooler idea. Oh, I played a total Patzer move. Wait a minute. Whoa, there's some cool stuff here. Okay, so obviously I should consider knight takes, but what about this? Leaving the knight out to dry. If you take, and let's say you make a queen, let's say you make a rook. Let's say you make a queen so that I have to take you. I don't have to take you right away. I can throw this move in. Now you go here, and we've just kind of in a fanciful way made this trade where now I'm going to be winning this rook. Still, possibly with good play, this is very good for white. My knight is going to be trapped in the corner. But this is a very interesting, fascinating variation. Even if I had seen that, even looking at it now, I'm not sure that practically that's even the best. Like, if that variation is good for white, I don't want to reduce the amount of material on the board. I want to keep it complex at any case. And against a normal opponent who might just play King E1, which is, like, very typical, you probably are doing fine. But he had Bishop E3, and this is a very clever move. So this was the secret prep. And I do think this is a very clever idea. It does kind of humiliate my knight that's standing here. And it's just suddenly hard. Like, where can I put my bishop now? Where does my bishop make sense? It doesn't make sense on any of the usual squares. And in general, it's just always a mistake to put the king here where it might get checked. So, yeah, I think this is actually some very, very interesting prep. In hindsight, maybe I should grab this pawn immediately, because otherwise I don't necessarily win it back. I played bishop e6, which doesn't necessarily win the pawn back. Here, I felt kind of compelled to trade. And in my mind, I just want to get this c-pawn. I want to get the c-pawn off the board. And obviously, it's just not easy. It's just not easy. And the opponent has a very good position for sort of the rest of the time here. This was probably a little bit weird. I'm not sure that he saw here that I'd be able to take on g2, which I think I can. And either he missed the idea that if he goes here and takes, I might be able to trap the rook, or he missed the idea that this rook was hanging, or he just thought this would simplify. But my idea here was if rook takes g7, which is actually given by the computer as the best move, my intention was to go here. After some trade, f4. And here, in every situation where he played f4, f5, I was ready to give this check, and then this thing would be a little bit looser. If I go directly for the rook now, I guess he sacrifices. There's knight e6. If I take, then this. Wow, okay. Knight e6 was one of the ideas that was missed by me. So this could have been played, and this could have been interesting. Instead, we got here. He's still doing great. I just get on with castling. Even still, it's tough. Everything's going well from him. This was, I guess, the absolute moment where things started to turn a little bit. Not that I properly punished him, but at some point, I felt in my own head that his knight was absolutely, completely stuck, and that maybe it would be a little bit harder around here for him to make any real progress. 2 bishops are very nice to have. There's no real active square for his rook. Like, how does the rook start to get in? And I'm like, okay, I'm just kind of hanging in there. And at some point, slowly, I can try to engineer some sort of a6, b5, b4, removing this guy, which is the defender of the knight. And if the knight's stuck and I can remove the bishop, maybe I can get something going. And then, unfortunately, a piece was blundered, which sort of changed the nature of the game into just, trying to convert a piece up. Very nearly through here. We got this trade. Here, he blundered a bishop. I might have taken here like an idiot, but maybe I would have had enough time to figure out this bishop's hanging. Or played like a computer. Ignore that. Give a check first. Force the king back. Then take here. But this is obviously losing. So, yeah, good game, Anton. That was some good prep, and it actually is like a very serious variation that's probably the actual refutation of the Tan Gambit. But I was not defeated today, so I can hold my head high that I'm still undefeated with the Tan Gambit. There we go. 6-0.